Hi, you guys. My name is Alita. And the last video that I did, I shared with you that I'm writing a book. I shared with you that I felt compelled to get information out into the world because of all the dynamic changes that are happening so rapidly right now in regards to humanity, the world, the war, the fact that I live in America, I'm free to speak and exercising my right to do that before I become an avatar. So we have an awful lot to consider and think about in today's space and time in the world. One of the things that I want to talk about is systems and starting to educate around the various different types of systems that we have here in America. And perhaps some changes that we can make that will be for the greatest and highest good of all and our humanity, because we, the people of America, are compiled primarily of the people of the world because of all of the cultures that we represent here. So it's important to me to get this information out there, and I hope it is educational for people. One of the things that I always start with teaching about systems is I believe it's important to start with our own personal system, our bodies, and how they function. So one of the things that I teach is I always say, you know, there's a pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid, you always hear the phrase, mind, body, spirit. And I tell people that's in the wrong order. It should be spirit at the top of the pyramid, then mind, then body. So it goes spirit, mind, body. That's how the pyramid goes: spirit, mind, body. And the reason why I say that is because your spirit is, and this is from my perspective, right? So I'm going to give you guys my analogies and my thoughts on this, as well as just my education and the research that I've done. And I'm going to share that with you. So the spirit I will title is conscious mind. So when you're in the present moment and you're in conscious mind, you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future, you're right here in the present moment paying attention fully. That's consciousness, right? You're consciously aware. Then there's the ability that the body that we live in is so amazing that we can go on autopilot, what I call subconscious mind. That's the mind basically running itself and running our bodies. So I describe it like this. Let's look at it from the aspect of consciousness being the pilot of the plane, your spirit being the pilot of the plane. Your spirit should always be the pilot of the plane. So your spirit should be telling your mind what to do more than your mind running autopilot and just taking control of your plane, which is your physical state of being, and your mental state of being. So your mind is happy to run on autopilot. When it runs on autopilot, it is running all of your old programs. So what I mean by old programs is things that you've experienced in life. It might be your upbringing. It might be the thing that you watched on the news earlier today. They call it public broadcasting and or programming for a reason, because it's all things that you are programming yourself with. When you're a child and you're being brought up in the world, your programming is delivered to you by your parents, typically, not always, but oftentimes. Then your experiences oftentimes also become your programming, especially if things are maybe potentially traumatic in your life. They have a tendency to stick. And then we will subconsciously make all of our choices and decisions based off of a lot of that old programming or prior experiences versus being present in this present moment. The autopilot's always happy to take over. In fact, the astronomical consensus is of neuroscientists and information that's coming forward in today's world that the majority of the populace is thinking with their subconscious mind, mostly. So I think the last ratio I read is like 70+% of the time our mind is in what I call autopilot. So the autopilot has taken over our entire state of being versus our spirit or conscious mind being in control. So the majority of the time, 70+% of the time, our minds are in autopilot. Subconscious mind has taken over. Also, it's been now found to be through science that we have 70,000 thoughts a day, 70,000 thoughts a day on average, approximately. And out of those 70,000, 35,000 of those are choices and decisions that we make. I really want to educate humanity, especially my country, because it is, again, like we're the people of the world here in this country, on this fact. Because if we can start to put our spirit back into the swing of things, and we start bringing that back into our conscious awareness, and we start realizing how important that is, then our spirit can be in the pilot seat and can be making the majority of the choices and the decisions, which will profoundly change everybody's lives. Positive programming versus negative programming is another huge factor. I always tell people choose wisely. A lot of our broadcasting systems, our social media, unfortunately, is focused on a lot of negative stuff. And people always say to me, well, yeah, Lita, but how can I possibly stop watching the news? Or how can I possibly not pay attention to the things that are happening in the world? It's important, and I'm a realist. And to those people, I always say, it's important to be aware. It's important to know and understand what's happening in the world. Absolutely. Do you have to be spoon-fed all of that information, sitting in front of your TV set in a meditative state, absorbing all of it and taking it on? No. You can skim through information. You can get the information that you need. You can quickly be updated, alert, aware, but you don't have to be taking it all in. And all this negative information in and absorbing it. And what I mean by that is paying attention to it then almost incessantly 24/7. That's a problem. Our broadcasting systems have a philosophy that if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. And that's been a system, not just of ours, but globally for a very, very, very long time. Maybe since the inception of TV, I'm not positive. I haven't researched that fact. So I just know that in my entire lifetime, it's primarily been that way. And so I try to educate people on the fact that there's miracles happening in the world. There's miracles happening every single day across the globe. And our media and broadcasting stations are not out there chasing the miracles that are happening, unfortunately. So when you're watching your broadcasting or your social media, you need to know and understand that there are amazing things happening in this world. There are people helping each other. There are people from all different cultures helping each other. It doesn't matter what the sex is. There's people helping each other. It doesn't matter. A lot of things don't matter. People are helping each other, and they're not getting stuck in these boxes of, I can't help you because I'm this culture, or I can't help you because I'm this religion. And we have these discrepancies. The majority of the time, let me say, humanity is compiled on people. There's more reason to come together. There's more reason to unite. There's more reasons to find all of the similarities that we have versus all the differences that we have. And that is just a fact. There's just as many miracles happening in this world as there are traumas and catastrophes, if not more. And you're just not being shown them. On top of that, let's throw into the mix that there's a good chunk of our worldwide populace that's now living in fear and anxiety. It's becoming an epidemic globally. And when we look at that fact, we should really start looking at the fact that the majority of our programming and the things that we're showing and that we're broadcasting to people are primarily negative. If it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead, right? That needs to change. My personal opinion. So I'm giving you my personal opinion in that aspect of things based off of facts, research studies that I've done and knowing how the body works. I'm also going to add the reason why it's important for spirit to be telling the mind what to do is because your mind, it's a proven fact again, world-renowned people, world-renowned hypnotherapists, science, all of these things are proving that we can very well tell our mind what to do and our mind will do whatever we tell it to. And so when you look at things from that aspect, if we're running on autopilot and we're running our thoughts incessantly on all the things that are going wrong, or all the things that are negative, or all the things that are potentially stressful, that people use that word often, and we're taking that on and we're taking that in, that's not conducive or healthy for our body, our physical system. And again, this is about systems, right? So it's about understanding your own physical system. And when people are in fear or they're starting to panic, it's a proven fact also that we have, because our bodies are amazing, we have our own pharmacy, and our internal pharmacy will it's a dumping ground for all kinds of chemicals, because once the brain goes into a state of fear or panic, our body's going to start that rush of chemicals. Part of that is cortisol. Also, our system, it's very wise and very smart, but it starts shutting down oxygen to the brain because it keeps thinking that the body's going to have to react, and the body's going to need that reserve of all of that oxygen for the lungs and everything else in case we have to run. When our oxygen starts to cut off to the brain, then we're not thinking 100% with the full capacity of what our potential is. Our mind is not functioning 100% properly at that state of being. Be mindful about your programming. Be mindful about your system. Be mindful about the fact that we really need to start bringing spirit back into the equation. Whatever religion you are, whatever belief system you are, whatever worship system you have, we are, again, the cultures of humanity are primarily housed right here in America, in our own nation. And so humanity and the world has basically become America. So I speak to America first because I think that we should really get on board with paying attention to this information and this research and the facts, and we should start changing our systems. And the first one we should change is this one, so that people can start being more educated and understand how their physical system works, and stop the epidemic of fear and anxiety that's happening in our own nation, let alone in the rest of the world. We need to hold accountability for that, and we need to start changing some of our external systems so that our internal physical state of being and our physical systems can find more harmony and balance, which in turn brings more harmony and balance to the rest of the world. Because let's also face it, and I'll give you this example. I'm driving down the road the other day and I see a car swerve, and they don't see a bicycle coming in the bicyclist lane, and the two almost collide. They didn't, thank heavens. And the initial reaction, though, however, was fear-based, and fear triggers anger. And so instead of it being this moment of, thank you that didn't happen, the first initial response is collide. They collide. So when people are in a state of fear or anxiety, the aggression in the world and the intensity of the aggression in the world has the ability to be a lot greater. So all of these things are really, really important for people to start understanding. And it's really important for us to start building our systems properly so that we are not triggering that for the people in our country, for the people of the world, because it matters. Obviously, it matters. I appreciate your time. Thank you.